Welcome to this week's update for pregnant women and families in Australia and New Zealand at the time of this COVID-19 global pandemic. In this video, I will outline some recent changes to screening for gestational diabetes and provide an update on the world's experience of COVID-19 and pregnancy. In the update released 7 weeks ago, on Friday 17th of April, I outlined the recommendations that had been made by the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists regarding changes to how we would screen for pregnancy diabetes, known medically as gestational diabetes. It is routine in our two countries to screen all pregnant women for gestational diabetes. This is done using a test known as the glucose tolerance test. Between 24 and 28 weeks of pregnancy, you go to the pathology testing centre fasted, have a baseline blood test known as the fasting blood glucose level, then drink a concentrated sugar drink, sit quietly and have 2 more blood tests after 1 and then 2 hours. Conducting this test often requires women to sit for 2 or more hours in a small room, often with many other people. The recommendation made 7 weeks ago in the early days of the pandemic was to no longer perform the 2-hour test and to rely solely on history of what had happened in previous pregnancies and the results of a fasting blood glucose level. The aim was to avoid having women waiting in close proximity in small collection centres. This recommendation was a compromise and was based on a very real fear of the pandemic coming our way. Fortunately, our worst fears have not been realised. Australia and New Zealand have been very successful in minimising the spread of this virus. So, it is time to go back to our previous practice. The college now recommends that the routine 2-hour glucose tolerance test should be performed as long as the pathology collecting centre can meet social distancing requirements. This policy applies to all pregnant women having their routine screening between 24 and 28 weeks. Some women who are at particular risk of gestational diabetes may also have a glucose tolerance test performed earlier in the pregnancy. Further details of the recommendations can be found at the website shown at the end of this presentation. Screening for gestational diabetes is extremely important. We now know that poorly controlled blood sugars during pregnancy may have serious consequences. High blood sugars increase the risk of many pregnancy problems, including the baby growing too large, producing too much amniotic fluid, and potentially stillbirth. After birth, there may be lifelong consequences, from changes to how insulin works as a result of exposure to high sugar levels as a fetus. These high sugar levels before birth can set the child up for obesity as an adolescent and young adult, to be followed by type 2 diabetes, leading to risk of heart disease, high blood pressure and stroke. It is seriously important for all pregnant women to be screened for gestational diabetes. And if you have this condition, make sure you have very, very good control of your blood glucose levels during the pregnancy. The benefit for your child may last for 80 years or so. But now, back to COVID-19. Over the last week, the information from other countries continues with the same theme. COVID-19 does not particularly target pregnant women, and if you get this virus while pregnant, the risks of serious problems are about the same as for the rest of the population. So please, continue to follow the instructions from your local authorities and health department. Maintain your social distancing, wash your hands frequently, and look forward to having a healthy pregnancy and the safe arrival of your baby. That ends this week's COVID-19 update for pregnant women and their families. I will be back next Friday when I plan to provide any new recommendations that may have been made and give you some information on vaccinations, the origin of the word, how it works, and what is recommended in pregnancy. Until then, stay well. Thank you.